Hi, I'm Eleanor Meyerhofer, a native Californian designer and digital strategist. In October of 1999, a few years after graduating from design school, I flew from San Francisco to Munich with a fistful of Deutschmarks, a dial-up connection, and an extremely vague plan. 20 plus years later, after a 10-year stint at a global agency, freelancing, and launching 2 online businesses, I'm still here. Now I'm talking to other expat business owners to share knowledge, stories, and inspiration for other non-Germans running businesses in Germany. I am here with Ricardo Brito, and I am going to start with the question that I ask everybody at the top of this show, and that is the 2-minute story of how you ended up in Germany.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate the invite, Eleanor. My 2 minutes, well, it was like around 2010, 2011, economic crisis hit Portugal. I actually had a good job. I mean, taking into account the economic crisis, I always worked in my field. I was one of the few people around me that was actually employed in his field. But I understand at that point that I was not having a big future there at that point. And I quit my job, to which everybody was like, what are you doing? It's in the middle of the crisis. You have a job. It's in your area. Why are you doing this? It's just because I want a better life. Went to Berlin because I had one contact here. I did Erasmus in Hanover and somehow was used to the German culture for a year. And this person said, yep, I have a sofa for you for a month. And I had no job, no house. I have $1,000 saved. And I moved to Germany.
And I mean, I know I can imagine why, but what attracted you to Berlin?
To be honest, at that point, we were looking for any job, or not any job, any country. We were like looking, we didn't even consider Australia at that point for some reason, and ended up in Germany because I had contacts. I was totally unaware of what Berlin was, if it was a party city or not. At the time, I was a graphic designer, branding designer. So it was like, oh, there's plenty of agencies there. There's plenty of work there. I didn't even know about the startup world, anything. Ended up coming here and realizing, well, you are not such a great brand and graphic designer that we're going to hire you anyway. You don't speak the language. And I also understood, damn, but also this industry is dying. Nobody wants to buy print anymore. So I realized that I needed to pivot. That's why I went in UX design and I become an intern again and started from there.
Interesting. And okay, so, but for you, obviously being from Portugal, EU, no problem.
Yeah, that
And
was.
you were in Hanover and you had a little bit of German or no German at all?
I squeezed out my ear in Hanover with Erasmus with no German.
Really?
I did the double of the credits although I didn't speak German.
Well, that's a problem. Were you as fluent in English then as you are now? Probably
less than I am now. Much less, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then that's pretty amazing. Because when you're an English speaker, it's kind of a quote unquote problem because you can just speak English all the time. I go to Berlin all the time, and I'm just astonished at how much English is spoken there. But not complaining, just not.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were in Berlin, you're looking for a job as a designer, you pivot to UX, and now you have a website called Career Storytelling.
Yeah.
And why don't you tell us a little bit about like how this came about, the journey from being a UX designer to what you do now?
Yeah, so that internship in UX design opened up a new career for me, which was the career that I developed for the last 12 years. I work as a product designer, service designer, innovation manager. I built design teams, did work with different kinds of organizations in tech. And I burned out. I was really tired already from the industry. I was a bit fed up, was a bit disappointed, and I had an health problem and a mental problem related to that. And during this period where I was, alone or tried to figure out what I was doing, what I would be doing next to get out of tech, I realized I experimented a lot of things, including selling meatballs to my friends from my kitchen because I didn't want to touch a laptop. And I came to the realization that by accident, coaching was something that I was interested in, and I was something that people were always. Although I was always in the industries of delivering stuff, a beautiful
Mm-hmm.
poster, a product, insights, whatnot, was always the people. Always like the conversations with the people, growing my team, unblocking, facilitating creativity and collaboration. And that naturally, when I discovered coaching by accident, because I was having therapy and coach on the side, I realized, oh, this is something maybe it's for me. I would like to, and I started to study it. I went back to the company that burned me out. I took I was about to be promoted as a director. I said, nope, I actually want a demotion. I want to become an individual contributor and work only 4 days a week. And on the side, I started building this small business and trying to understand what I want to do for people, what kind of work can I do, figuring out my business model, my positioning, and all of that until I realized, yep, I think I'm in a good state to do the biggest jump of my life, which was I never want to own my own business and actually having my own business.
Okay, so you went back. That's, I think, a very clever strategy. You went back, downshifted, so like not super intense role, but some security, so you could kind of do this as a side hustle and
Yeah.
give yourself some runway. Do I have that right?
Yes, which again baffled everyone around me. Why are you going back and why are you doing this? But I think for me was the most smartest thing to do.
So how did you grow it?
My business, you mean?
Yeah, 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 and is that when was it called career storytelling or was it
So
coaching or what? How did you get started?
took me a long time to understand what I do exactly, and I still struggle with the terminology. Am I a coach or a mentor or an advisor? I
Mhm.
do so many different things, and I wear so many different hats. Everything has its own space. It grew somehow naturally through people. I work with a lot of people, all kinds of people, with all kinds of situations to understand what type of problems I'm solving for them. I never wanted to develop content. That was something that is like, ah, man, I don't want to develop content. I also don't want to niche down. Then I realized, yeah, but if you don't niche down, it's like building a product for everyone. So you build a product for no
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's kind of okay. I bit the bullet, and I understand. Actually, this is the kind of problems I solve. I solve people in career transitions. They need to be senior, and they are going through some personal transformation. And it grew with the content as well. I never wanted to write, but my own coach was like, "Yeah, you have so much to say. Why you don't write an article?" It's just like, who's going to read that? I have a lot of opinions, but like, who's going to read that? So I was really afraid to put myself out there. But then I found a loophole. I found like, oh, I can include my illustrations and justify why I have a fine arts degree with my newsletter. And the newsletter was my gateway to starting creating more content as newsletters, videos, and really understanding that I enjoy that. So it's not just a marketing gimmick or a growth gimmick. I really enjoy to share my opinions, to really enjoy to put my learnings out there and to connect with people. And it grew up from that and from referrals and from my client base, I guess.
Okay. Okay, that explains that. I was just poking around in your Substack and looking at all of your beautiful illustrations. And now, okay, you've got a background in design. It's all coming together. But so, do I understand this right? You started with like content creation, and that was how you got referrals, got the word out.
I mean, I had clients even before that, even before saying that
Okay.
I was a coach or anything. I had clients because I was reaching out to people. Like how I grew up was more like, hey, I do this process now. I offer coaching.
Mhm.
I started offer coaching to friends of friends, so never persons
Mhm.
that I met directly, and my to put my name out there, to
Mhm.
also develop and honor my skills.
Mhm.
The content was something that I realized that I needed to uh,
Mhm.
to to go out of my network to have a bigger, because nobody searched for a coach. Let's be honest. Nobody like,
Yeah.
oh, I really. I mean, maybe a therapist you do, but
Yeah.
that's very different topics. But like nobody goes, oh, I really need a coach. No, so you need to put yourself out there and to also show,
Mhm.
hey, maybe you are facing this problem, or maybe have you thought about that? So creating the content was also a way for me to connect with a bigger community and have a bigger reach. I would say,
Mhm.
yeah.
I sent you this question, but you said you wear a lot of hats, coach, mentor. Do you also consider yourself a creator?
That's a good question. I'm struggling with it. My partner goes, "Oh no, now I'm dating a content creator." I never expected that. Which, by the way, she's the most amazing person. Is the second brain in this business in many senses. I don't know. I don't know how to
Yeah.
reply to this question because it started as something I do on the side, and it's just as is an outlet for some opinions. Nowadays, I work with a great content strategist that helps me to figure out my angles, to help to put my head in order in terms of what we should be speaking about, what I should things I should focus on, and also helps me with the creative side. So yeah, well, I think maybe I'm a content creator because I'm going very strategic about it.
Ah, you've got a content. You're profesh. I'm just like, what do I want to blab about today? Or I have a like running list of topics, but um,
But yeah, but that works too, right? But for me, I need a little bit more structure.
and okay, so you're producing this content. I want to back up a little bit because I noticed you've got your website
Hmm.
and you've got the Substack
Yeah,
with 1,000, and then I saw that then you've got 1,000 followers. But then what was like the primary platform you started at? And the reason I'm asking these questions is that I think a lot of people kind of want to know how you get started and like what it takes and all that kind of stuff.
yeah. So I enter. It's a good question. It's a bit of a pet peeve too. I enter like when I think and maybe you experience that and other people experience that. I think when you're starting this kind of solopreneur business and you are the
Mhm.
brand and you are the product, it's very easy to enter in these loophole. Oh, what should I do? What is the marketing techniques? And then you go,
Mhm.
there's so many people selling. You should use my system of lead
Mhm.
creation. You should use my marketing. And I was totally lost on that. Like, where do I start? Like, this is overwhelming, costs a lot of money. I realized that start with the thing that you feel comfortable with and take it
Mhm.
from there. That was my biggest learning.
Yeah.
My thing was like I can completely overthink where I start a newsletter, which tools and so on. Where is
Yeah.
my people? I have like at that point I have like what two and a half thousand followers on my LinkedIn without creating content.
Mhm.
I did a lot of speaking gigs around design and innovation, so I have kind of
Ah, okay.
I already had a base and a public figure sorts of saying out there within a very niche scene. But I had some followers, which like, why should I create something outside where I have zero followers? I created on LinkedIn and my newsletter started to grow from that. And then I move on to Substack because Substack was a little bit better in terms of like the UI is better, the emails, the whole system
Yeah.
is much better. I do regret it, I have to say, to start it on LinkedIn because I think getting your first 1,000 followers on a newsletter without having their emails, without being able to connect with them in a different way, it's something that I built over 2 years. And now it's just, I have nothing to show for it because if LinkedIn closes the tab or I leave the platform, I don't have any way to connect with these followers or with these people that engage. So if I would start a newsletter today, I would start it in a something that I own at least, either my own email provider or a Substack where I keep the emails of these people. So when I move on to another platform, I bring these people together with me. So that's something that's a big learning.
That is fascinating because I started on LinkedIn to sort of the same reason and not like at first I was a little bit sheepish about like LinkedIn because I used to work at a big agency too. And I was like, that's my old corporate life. I don't want to go on there and talk about stuff. But then I realized that's where people that need my services are. And in fact, right now I'm doing a project I've done so much work with ex-colleagues.
Yeah,
Um, but it was like, okay, it's business and it's just like business networking. Fine. But in terms, I mean, it's a little bit catch 22 because, like you said, you already had like 2,000 people on there. Why are you going to go somewhere and start from scratch? But it is true, you don't get emails, a little catch 22 there. So if you had started on Substack, but with nobody, do you think it would have been as easy to grow that up without?
I guess I would never know, but
Yeah.
but but my answer, I think no. I
Yeah.
think would take a lot more effort. I think, I mean, also because, I mean, we are not getting into the nitty gritty, right?
Yeah.
But sharing an external link on LinkedIn is something that you get punished by the
Yeah.
algorithm and
Yeah.
so on. So it's so hard.
Yeah.
But, but again, I think you are also playing the long game, right? This is
Yeah.
playing the long game of building a brand and building. So in insight, maybe I would have done that and I would have bitten the bullet and, like, okay, it's going to be a bit slow, but worth it in the long run. Because
Mm-hmm.
now I'm strategizing. How do I move these people to give me their emails? And now I need to create a lot of strategies to think about that.
And on Substack, I noticed it's not paywalled at all.
No, I still I I have a hard time with making like content that is paid in a
Mm-hmm.
world where content is so free and available.
Yeah.
I find that a bit tricky. I don't consume paid content as well by myself from creators. So I prefer to put everything for free out there. Even my tools are out there for free. I'm not charging like $5 or anything. Just nope,
Okay.
take everything for free, no gatekeeping. But
Okay.
if you want to operationalize them, you probably would need to work with me. So I put everything for free. Yeah.
And how did you build up your Substack following or subscriptions, rather?
I was having on LinkedIn at the bottom. Follow me on Substack.
And did that work?
That worked. There's quite some people that was coming from Substack. Also because like if you open an email from LinkedIn on your email and like this newsletter, it looks really crappy, and the whole interaction, the whole feeling of interacting with the newsletter in on LinkedIn is not the best. So Substack feels really nice, and so I guess people naturally move. Some people that were already maybe on Substack, they found me there and they
Mm-hmm.
started to. I created 1 or 2 email campaigns where I said, "Hey, I'm now on Substack. Please go there." But I still didn't came to with these strategies that people do. If you go to my Substack, you have special content or special
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
things. So I think they moved from there. And I also did a mail blast to friends and family and
Yeah.
like, can you
Yeah. Yeah.
please go and follow me there now?
Yeah. No shame in that game. Okay.
No.
Interesting. So let's go back to talk about, like, your coaching work and your client work.
Yeah.
Who's your, like, audience and client and customer?
I work primarily with senior people in tech and creative fields. Tends to be a lot of designers, product managers, brand people. So, art directors, creative directors, product designers.
Mm-hmm.
These range. I work also with marketing people, senior people who have worked in tech, and they are most likely like late 30s, early 40s,
Mm-hmm.
rethinking their life. And then they are in 3 different parts of the journey. I think there is a journey of transition, and there is 3 different stages. I work with people who are like, look, I'm okay with my job, not 100% happy, and I want to start a process of explore what's there for me. What other things are there? Maybe other careers, maybe pivot on a horizontal way, but they are not ready to take a plunge or even strategize it. Then I work with people that are in another stage, which is the stage, well, I actually have a couple of options. I want to test them out and understand what really is the one that I want to go for, and then strategize how I make that transition to this new job or to this new field or to this new career. Or I work with the people that are at that stage, but they are also ready to implement it, to say,
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
be there with me and we're going to start this together.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Does that
Yeah, yeah,
clarify?
that makes sense. So are they mostly based in Germany, or do you work remotely with people all over the world?
All over the world as much as the time difference allows.
Okay. Okay.
I
So
have clients in Canada, Australia, India, all over Europe. Yeah, so as long as the time difference allows, I'm fine.
okay. And how did you build up that clientele being based in Berlin?
A lot of it is the content.
Mhm.
Oh, I tend to I have a good network and try to get into events, and often I'm getting invited to talk to meetups or conferences or run workshops, and I guess that close connection helps, but also all the marketing materials that meetups do and conferences do, especially online, right? Like I go to a meetup online and there's people from all over the world nowadays.
Right, right. And the meetups, and, like, are the events you do, like, what proportion is online versus in person?
Mostly online, actually.
Okay.
I think it's changing nowadays. I think
Mhm.
that, I mean, I try to be also go to events but present if I can, if as
Mm-hmm.
the but online has a huge impact, especially if you are building this kind of solopreneur business and
Mm-hmm.
your clientele is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Online is probably a good place to be because first you have a lot more reach of different organizations that are not just local.
Mm-hmm.
Second, you can attract a lot more clients from all kinds of parts of the world that otherwise would not meet you anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you are piggybacking on marketing machines that already have their clientele based
Mm-hmm.
that expose you to so many different places and people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I started this gig in COVID with a toddler.
Wow.
um, but it was actually great. I mean, it was great in air quotes, but because I just was sort of like, I had thought about like, doing websites for a while, but I was sort of on the fence about it. But anyway, I just was like, oh, I can go to look at this meeting in Rotterdam. They're having their thing on online. I could just go there. Like, and it wasn't weird because of course it doesn't matter where you are, you could just dial in. And that was actually, I think for a lot of online service providers, there was like a boom in the COVID years and then kind of a bust in 23 and 24 because so many people were just like going online and using services. And then everybody thought, oh, well, this is normal. And then it wasn't.
Yeah.
Which maybe if your clientele is around the world, but I'm just curious. I mean, I'm now solo, but I worked in agencies here in Munich for years, and my husband's still at Publicis. But what's the vibe in the industry right now? What I feel like is like the whole startup tech vibe. It's like shaky. Would you say that? Is it just Europe or is it all everywhere?
I think it's everywhere.
Yeah.
I think it's everywhere. I mean, it's just there is differences how people react to it.
Mm.
I
What?
think if you work in places where there's the social security is not so strong,
Mm-hmm.
I think people are a lot more pragmatic, a lot more action oriented, a lot less questioning. So, I mean, there is the same level of questioning the job or questioning the nature of the work, but there is a lot more pragmatism into getting again into the job market, especially if you have been unemployed, for example, or if you.
Mm-hmm.
So I see more the difference in people who are in unemployment because I also work, for example, with Fired Up Space, where I work, where I have the opportunity to work with unemployed people who could not afford to work with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see a bit of a difference when I work with unemployed people outside of Europe, for example, with less social security systems. It's much more
Mm-hmm.
pragmatic. It's much more, let's get it done. Let's positioning myself better, or let's get my business off the ground much quicker. While in Europe, I feel that there is more room for questioning and exploration and being a little bit more comfy. I'm not saying that's bad, but can create certain negligence about your future too.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, when I came to Germany, I had, you know, I came on my own and then I got a job and at the agency and then I was kind of not sure if I wanted to go back or not, but I started thinking about it and this was many years ago and I would have gone back to San Francisco but I started thinking like, "Oh my god, I can't go freelance because I won't have any health care and I'll have like no vacation and it'll be so expensive." And a lot of those, I mean, I had a job. It wasn't at that time things were still booming in tech, but I felt like here I actually had more freedom to make a decision. And then I did Gründungszuschussgeld,
Yeah, same.
and it was like, oh my God, I can't believe they're giving me all this money. And my husband was like, you've been paying taxes here for 10 years. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. But I don't know, maybe it's culture. I think it's good to be questioning. I mean, you can't, I mean, I don't know what you're seeing, but it also, you don't get enough to just like be unemployed forever, but it's not like a terrifying situation. Would you say that's
In Germany.
yeah, or in any country with a social safety net versus like sink or swim?
Yeah, and totally. And I'm all up for safety nets, right?
Yeah.
And I'm all up for, I think that's a very good system that's a very good system to have. And I myself, I use the Gründungszuschuss also to
Yeah.
support to support building my business. But sorry, I got lost. I got lost in my train
Oh,
of
I was just saying, do you see, you can't, I mean, you can't, even if you have a generous social safety net, you can't be unemployed forever. So people still have to be motivated at some point.
Yes, and I think they are, and I think they are. I think it's just, there is a different level, there is a different sense of urgency when I work with people who don't have that social security net.
Yeah.
The there's just, and it shows in the questions, it shows in the attitude of our approaches. It's not good or bad, either one is better or the other, it's just different. That's an observation that I can see, that if you don't have that safety net, you tend to be a lot more pragmatic, a lot more risk taking,
Yeah.
and a lot more quicker in your decisions.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah. Yeah.
that good? Maybe in some ways, maybe in other ways it's not that good.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. I want to switch topics a little bit back to tools. I'm very sorry, but I'm always curious
Go
about
ahead.
this. So you are based in Germany.
Yeah.
I see that you sell digital products. You
Mhm.
have a course on
Yeah.
your site, the career storytelling course.
Yeah.
I am curious about like what kind of CRM and accounting tools you use. This is a business show, and we are all
Fair enough.
struggling.
So I'm okay. I don't have a CRM. I used to use Notion
Uh-huh.
for a while to track my clients and payments and so on. I had like two views. One was like my clients and where we are in terms of process, and did I send the invoice, did I not? And I
Mhm.
had another view where I had the sales, right? Like
Mhm.
what's in the pipeline, what we
Mhm.
need to reply, and all of that. Very basic. Nowadays, I use Atio, but the free version, n- just because it automates, it fetches a lot of information from my emails and automates a little
Wait,
bit.
what's it called?
Attio, Attio.
Oh, I haven't heard of this.
It's
Okay.
like HubSpot, or it was
Okay, okay.
a bit more friendly. But I don't use a fraction even of what these
Yeah.
tools are. It's just for certain things it's a bit better. Now, invoicing, which is my biggest fear, and taxes and so on.
Yeah, yeah.
I went really old school German. I went Datev. I went full on
You use
Datev.
Datev, not even Lexware. You went straight to Datev.
I use Datev because my accountant make a good case. Look, you need to deal with your private taxes as an
Mhm,
individual. You need to deal with your accounting.
mhm,
You you need to pass receipts and invoices and all of that.
mhm,
You need to have access. All of these systems ideally are connected to your bank account, so
mhm,
everything is transparent. I mean, he made a good case. Look, you have a tool that connects to your business bank account that
mhm,
always fetches all the information, what comes in and out, and updates and matches what goes in and out. Half
mhm,
of 90% of the accounting work is already done just by having that. Then you have another tab where you have all your private taxes, which is, you know, one tool, send it to the Finanzamt, is already, and it already has your business information. And on top of it is the same system where you pass the invoices. You can have all of these systems individually with other companies, but to plug them in and to communicate all of this information to make it easy for the accountant is going to, long run, is going to get more expensive and more risky.
mhm.
So I said, you know what? I want the most bulletproof thing. Everything is centralized. I invoice through that tab. My bank account is connected to that tab. My taxes are there, and I pay a very small fee. To be honest, I don't think it's very expensive, and I at least have to go to bed secure that all my accounting theoretically it's spotless.
Oh, that is so fascinating to me. So you can generate an invoice in English from Datev?
Yeah, that tab is a bit of a Frankenstein in terms of English and German.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's kind of it's English.
Yeah. Okay. But that's okay for your clients in Canada, and
Yeah, yeah.
that doesn't,
Because I can put the description in English, that's okay.
okay. They're not like, what's this?
No,
Um, and then what about like for me, where it gets complicated is not many and not often, but I'll sell digital products and I do that all through Squarespace and that
Ah,
goes to my Stripe. And then I got to get all the stuff out of Stripe and then all of the stuff out of the PayPal and then all the stuff out of the bank. And then I got to reconcile. I mean, and then I pay, I got this, I got to really get a hold of myself because I kind of go on a tax rant in every episode. I'm sorry.
no,
But
no.
I'm just always curious about how everybody else deals with this, especially if you're not like, I feel like it's organized for people that are consultants to have like 2 big invoices a month, not like
Yeah,
a bunch of little ones. And then it's just a nightmare.
yeah. That's the thing that I'm struggling in Germany with.
Mhm.
I think like when I look at other countries is a bit looser or more entrepreneurial friendly on
Yeah.
these kind of topics. It's one of the barriers why I don't have digital products. So oddly enough, I don't sell my cars digitally. You know what you need to do? You need to book a meeting with me.
And then you send them a dative invoice?
Yeah, because because the pain of
Yeah.
having that, it's so much bigger, and I'm going to take so much risk that maybe all the money I make there, I'm going to spend it to finance some because I screw up something. It's just like I don't want that. But this is also the hoops and loops that I think German tax system makes us do, which is
Yeah.
wait a second, I need to change my whole sales process to avoid to avoid all of these potential problems, so I can sell without it has in a less risky way. It has also a different topic, because I believe that if you are paying a high ticket, and I think 600 bucks is still a lot of money for a lot
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
600
Yeah.
bucks is a lot of money. I don't give 600 bucks like because I saw a post of you in the internet.
Yeah. It's not a
So I
$27 thing. Yeah.
exactly. So, and it's going to be a live thing. So if we don't connect and you don't like me, even if I have the best course in the world, you don't want to go because you need to deal with me.
Yeah.
So this is also a call to understand: do you fit the course? Is the course for you? Can I tailor something better to you? And yeah, in the end, you get an invoice. So that is a good upside of doing this sales process. But this sales process was driven by, man, I cannot make this digitally.
Ricardo, you're giving me some good ideas here. I've always had this idea for doing a live done with you website workshop.
Yeah.
But then I think about this because I realized it is not worth selling any online product under 150 euros because just the admin. It's like not worth it at all.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh God, but if I do that and then I got to have it run through Squarespace and and I was just, and that was like stopping me from doing this. But yeah, it's worth it to have the quick call if it's an in-person thing. Just have a call and then just invoice it through your normal thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, is I don't think it was by design per se, but I weird to talk about my brand because I am the brand, or I am a brand is me. I don't know who's,
Mhm.
but I like to connect really good connections with people. All
Yeah.
my clients work with me even after stop working with me. You're right there.
Mhm.
They have a WhatsApp community. I still offer free group coaching sessions every month for anybody that has worked with me, because I want to create this personal connection. I used to do products for millions of people that I never put a face on. So
Mhm.
that's why I created this business. So in the way this tax tax system painful tax system is also contributing to my brand, because if you really want to work with me and come to my course, we get to know each other, we tell if that's the good match, and we create a relationship right there. Or maybe it's just me trying to justify how I dodge this tax question.
No, positive framing. We all got to stay positive. That's a great attitude, Ricardo. I like it. So, okay, we covered most of the things. I'm gonna just slowly wrap it up. It's Friday at
Nice. Fair enough.
almost 5:40. Do you have like any lessons learned or advice you'd give to anybody who's just starting their business journey in Germany?
In Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
We
that's specific,
discovered the
because
tax part.
there is business lessons that one can start as in general, but that in Germany, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, be prepared to be ridiculously organized.
Mm.
I think that's also what saved me. Like I, I needed to be ridiculously organized with all my paperwork and having like backups of everything. Be ready to have very painful conversations. I think one of the things that people underestimate, I did certainly, is get your account. You don't have an accountant now, you don't plan to start a business, great, that's fine, start looking for one, because the day you need it is like, yeah, start looking for one now and make a good relationship. I think that's a big one because it blocks everyone.
And also business in general. I mean, so the Germany part, but
don't cheap out. I think there are things that are worse to cheap out, and there are things that are, for example, anybody that I heard in the last years that cheap out, for example, in terms of tax consultants, taxes, tax administration, invoicing, and so on, they always backlashed. And that was something at the beginning is really scary. Like, I don't want to spend like, I don't know, $1,000 in setting up this and paying to this guy and this, and paying like, I don't know, $30 a month for when I could pay maybe $5, and I use this tool. And so those shortcuts are going to bite you. Are going to bite you in the ass later on. And that's the moment that when you want to grow, and then it's like you need to solve all of these admin problems and catching up. And I try to understand like if this business is to scale in a certain extent, I don't want to scale certain basics. I don't want to think about transforming my invoicing system and tax system, because I want that done. Painful at the beginning, but then it's done. I don't, because I have actual business problems to work on. How to scale it? What's my business? What's my pricing? All of that. It's more important. So that's one thing that I would give advice, especially in Germany. The second one, and that took me a long time to learn, and I think I wasted a lot of time to learn that one, is that want to make money, you need to spend money. And that's really a cliche, but it's true. The moment I decided I need to start investing, even if, I'm paying just the bills and not, but you need to. Then I started to invest in people to work with me too. Hey, I need you to help me to solve this problem. Hey, I need you to write copy for my website because I cannot pull that off. When I started to delegate certain things to get space to the things that that actually my business needs and to push value. Another thing, especially coming from tech, I see a lot of people going into businesses and they really get lost in the tooling. I need to get the best CRM. I need to get this. I need to get that. No, you don't. Do you know your business? Do you know who you're talking to? Do you know what you're selling? Do you know your value? Like, it's not the right time to discuss, is this Squarespace versus Wix? Is this data versus this? Is this this mailing list? Because none of that matters if you don't know which problems are you solving, for whom are you solving, and how do you solve them. And I think a lot of people fail in this because we get lost in all of these administrative and we don't give love to that. And I think that's another bigger learning that I have been crystal clear with that.
I think it's so interesting you say that because I confront that a lot. I have a post talking it's like, do you really need a website or do you just need business therapy? Because sometimes, and it's for, and I say that also because it happens to me too, that it's easier in some ways to get, fixated on tools and this than really, those are hard questions. And even if you've been in business for a while, like like you said at the beginning, you didn't want to niche down and all that stuff. And, I know that can be a religious debate, but those are the fundamental questions about your business, and they are important. They're going to be certainly more important than the tools you use in the long run.
Yeah. And I think another thing that plays into that, and I'm sorry if I'm opening a big can of worms now towards the end, but I think, I don't know how it was for you, but like when you are doing your own business, there is you bring a lot of your own insecurities, your personal insecurities, your fears, and your traumas, whatnot into that. And there are things that we cannot figure out. We don't know how to figure out certain things because maybe we don't have the skills yet, or maybe because we are too much inwards to actually see the bigger picture. And then there is such a cacophony of like so much noise out there. Like, you should use my sales techniques. So that really triggers and preys on those fears. And I think for me it was really, really hard to tone down that noise and to really understand, what do I need to solve? What is the problems that I really need to solve? Where am I lacking? What kind of help do I need? And then going to try to find the people that could solve me that. And every single time I go to somebody that I find on the internet, it never works out. Every single time I reach out to my network, is like, hey, I have this problem. Do you know somebody that can support me on that? 100% of the time, that's the person I hire, because not because I'm biased, is because truly this person knows what they are doing. They are not promising the sun and the moon, and there have been fantastic results. So it's funny because I'm one of these kind of persons that I'm out there, hey, I can do this for you, but at the same time that was one of the biggest learnings as well too.
But it's both. It's both, because sometimes I have a little thing on my CRM that's like lead source, and it's not like just word of mouth. It's that, but then all the stuff you put out there, people can like get into that and kind of check you out, even if you're being referred by a trusted resource. You still have to do that. I think. I don't think.
Yeah.
Even if somebody recommends you and you just have like, go to my Instagram or whatever, I don't think that is enough supporting information for somebody to make a high ticket purchase, for example.
Yeah.
So good advice. I'm actually, as you're talking, I am going to connect you with somebody who I know could really benefit from your insights, who's in Berlin, an old friend from California. So
thank you.
before we jump off, plug away. Where can people find you? All that good stuff.
So I'm always active on LinkedIn. That's my main tool. You can also find me on Instagram, and you can subscribe. Please subscribe on Substack to my newsletter, not on LinkedIn, because I need your email. And that's basically it. Every 2 weeks I do this newsletter. You might find me somewhere in some event, which I always advertise. And that's about it. I'm not so spread out. I try TikTok, but I can't. Like I cannot have that installed in my phone. I get too addicted. So
yeah, I downloaded it once and looked at it, immediately jumped off. But that's pretty good. I'm about to just totally do an evergreen on my Instagram and just go down to LinkedIn, individual reach outs, my client newsletter.
Yeah,
and that's it. I'm like really wanting to scale down.
Simplifying.
Yeah. I think we just had a really nice summer vacation. I came back and I was like, I want less digital. But great. It was wonderful talking to you, and everybody check out Ricardo's stuff. And thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you too, Eleanor. It's been really a pleasure to be here, and thanks so much for the nice discussion. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for listening. You can find this and all other Germany Expat Business Show podcasts at thegermanylist.de. Bye.